For one unforgettable year, these songs were everywhere. They blasted from car radios, echoed through shopping malls, and filled every school dance across America. Then, almost as quickly as they arrived, they disappeared. But behind those unforgettable melodies were stories few fans ever heard. A hit that accidentally sparked thousands of unwanted phone calls. A sleepy teenager who recorded a classic before sunrise. And a future superstar who nearly traded music for a job selling candy. So turn up the dial. Today we're counting down 10 one-hit wonders from 1982 that only true 80s fans still remember. Number 10, Mickey by Tony Basil. "3 years can completely change the destiny of a melody." In 1979, a British band named Racy released a song called Kitty about a guy chasing a girl. It completely flopped and disappeared into the void. But Tony Basil saw something else. She flipped the script, changing the pronouns so the track was about a girl aggressively flirting with a guy named Mickey. Truth be told, that legendary chant, the exact part we all screamed at the top of our lungs, was never in the original British track. Basil just added it as a catchy hook in the studio. Yet, despite inventing the very lines that made it a global smash, she never received a single songwriting credit. She actually had the vision for a cheerleader music video long before she even picked the song. Wearing her real Las Vegas high school uniform, she accidentally created one of the defining visual moments of early MTV, pushing the single straight to number 1 in the United States and Australia in early 1982. But the music business is rarely fair. After giving the 80s one of its most colorful anthems, she later revealed she only made about $3,000 in royalties from it. It is the absolute definition of a 1982 one-hit wonder, an unforgettable explosion of pop culture built on a forgotten song, leaving behind a massive legacy that was so much bigger than the paycheck. Number 9, 8675309, Jenny by Tommy Two-Tone. Do you remember the heavy click of a rotary dial? Back in 1982, millions of teenagers across America shared the exact same Friday night ritual, sneaking to the kitchen telephone just to ask if Jenny was there. It all started when songwriter Alex Call came up with a random string of numbers and a name. When his bandmate Jim Keller pointed out, it sounded exactly like a bathroom wall graffiti. They finished the lyrics in just 20 minutes. They completely refused to use a fake 555 number because they wanted the track to feel gritty and real.
Jenny, Jenny, who can I turn to?
In the studio, the band locked into that driving rhythm so perfectly that the recording required almost no edits. But when the track exploded to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in April 1982, a bizarre cultural disaster unfolded. Because they used a real number format, thousands of innocent families across the country suddenly found their phones ringing at 3 in the morning. Local operators were completely overwhelmed by people searching for a fictional girl. One Alabama resident even threatened to strangle the band over the sleepless nights. Tommy Two-Tone never replicated this massive success, fading quietly into the background of the 80s. But they accidentally created the most famous phone number in music history. Looking back, it is a perfect 1982 one-hit wonder. A brilliantly catchy rock song that jumped out of the radio and literally rang inside our own homes, reminding us of a simpler time when a silly prank call was the ultimate teenage rebellion. Before we head to the next song, I'm curious, which one-hit wonder from 1982 instantly takes you back to your younger days? Leave the title in the comments. I might feature it in a future countdown. Number 8. Tainted Love by Soft Cell.
Run away, I've got to.
Sometimes the defining sound of the future is actually just a ghost from the past. Back in 1964, an American soul singer named Gloria Jones recorded a passionate track that completely flopped. It was buried on the B-side of a forgotten record. But years later, a British DJ dug it out of a bargain bin and started playing it in the underground northern soul clubs of England. That is where a young Mark Almond heard it and fell completely under its spell.
Me the love we share.
When Soft Cell went into the studio, they stripped away all the traditional soul guitars and brass horns, replacing them with cold, mechanical synthesizers. They slowed the tempo down to match his deeper voice. The vocal you hear on the record was actually just a quick practice run, but the raw emotion was so perfect, they decided to keep it forever. When it hit America in early 1982, it became a massive cultural obsession, staying on the Billboard Hot 100 for a staggering 43 weeks. Most kids dancing to it had absolutely no idea they were grooving to a nearly 20-year-old rhythm and blues failure.
I can't sleep at night.
But there is a bittersweet truth hiding behind the beat. Gloria Jones did not see a dime of royalties from this new version until the 1990s. She was also the driver in the tragic 1977 car crash that killed rock legend Mark Bolan. Carrying her own heavy sorrows, she still graciously called the Soft Cell version the best arrangement of her song ever made. Tainted Love is a brilliant 1982 one-hit wonder, proving that a great melody never really dies. It just waits quietly in the dark for the right generation to find it.
If you take my tears and that's not nearly.
Number 7. Valley Girl by Frank Zappa, featuring Moon Zappa. Would you believe that one of the most intimidating and complex minds in rock history got his biggest commercial hit just by waking his 14-year-old daughter up at 3 in the morning? Frank Zappa openly despised commercial pop music. He even called the San Fernando Valley the most depressing place on earth. But his teenage daughter Moon had a brilliant idea. She slipped a note under his door, offering to mimic the ridiculous slang she heard while hanging out at the Sherman Oaks Galleria and local bar mitzvahs. So on a random school night, Frank dragged her into the studio.
Like the Galleria. I'm like, oh.
Standing in front of the microphone, she completely improvised every single word, pouring out all that teenage shopping mall energy over a simple 4/4 rock beat. When the track dropped in 1982, it became an unstoppable cultural phenomenon. It climbed to number 32 on the Billboard Hot 100, making it the only top 40 single of Frank Zappa's massive career.
Just picture me in a leather teddy. Yeah, right. Hurt me.
The irony is almost too perfect. He wrote it to mock the mindless consumer culture, but America completely missed the joke. Instead, they turned Valspeak into a nationwide obsession, selling dolls and clothes with her catchphrases. Moon later admitted that dealing with that sudden fame was actually quite painful for a young girl. To this day, it stands as the ultimate 1982 one-hit wonder, a hilarious accident where a musical genius tried to make fun of the radio and accidentally conquered it instead. And if you still remember shouting "Gag me" with a spoon, you are officially a true 80s kid.
Disgusting. I'm like so sure. I'm like, barf me out.
Number 6. Genius of Love by Tom Club. You have probably danced to this exact rhythm 100 times without ever knowing where it actually came from. Back in late 1981, Chris Frantz and Tina Weymouth took a short break from their main band Talking Heads to try something completely different. They noticed everyone in the New York art scene was calling each other a genius, so Chris jokingly declared that he was a genius of love. To make the track even weirder, Tina invited her sister into the studio to improvise a bizarre alien-sounding language, right on the spot. When it finally reached American mainstream radio in early 1982, it became a relatively modest pop hit. But what happened next is the biggest twist on our entire list. As Chris and Tina drove around in their tiny Honda Prelude listening to early underground hip-hop stations, they realized DJs were playing their track on an endless loop. That simple groove quietly became the true foundation of modern music. It has been sampled nearly 200 times, most famously sending Mariah Carey straight to number 1 in 1995. This is exactly what makes it the ultimate 1982 one-hit wonder. The band itself never really chased mainstream pop stardom again, yet they accidentally laid the bricks for 4 decades of rap and R&B, proving that sometimes the quietest hits leave the loudest legacy. We've reached the halfway point, and I'd love to know if any of these songs have surprised you so far. Tell me which story caught you completely off guard. Number 5. Pac-Man Fever by Buckner and Garcia. Step inside any dimly lit pizza parlor in 1982, and you would hear the exact same symphony, the endless clinking of quarters dropping into glowing arcade machines. Jerry Buckner and Gary Garcia were just 2 local commercial writers in Atlanta. One afternoon, they found a Pac-Man machine in a restaurant and played for 2 straight hours instead of going back to work. They wrote a silly pop song about their new obsession, hoping it might just land them a few local advertising gigs. Local radio stations completely ignored it, until one station played it as a morning joke. I got a pocket full of quarters and I'm headed to the phone lines instantly melted down. When the track caught fire, CBS Records demanded a full album immediately. The duo literally ran around arcades with notepads, studying different games to write an entire record in just 10 days. Against all logical odds, this goofy arcade tribute climbed all the way to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100, selling over 1 million copies that year. It remains the only video game song in American history to crack the top 10. I got a callus on my finger and my shoulders hurting too. But that massive success became a golden cage. They never broke out as a serious rock band, spending the rest of their careers trapped in the novelty gaming niche. Pac-Man Fever is the ultimate 1982 one-hit wonder, because it perfectly captures a fleeting era of our youth, a time when dropping a quarter into a wooden cabinet felt like the absolute most important thing in the world. Number 4. Let It Whip by Dazz Band. Feel that deep, vibrating bass rattling in your chest. For anyone who hit the dance floors in the early 80s, that sound was an absolute command to move. The Dazz Band was a group of 8 hard-working guys from Cleveland, Ohio. They had changed their names several times, trying to find their true identity before landing at Motown. Producers Reggie Andrews and Leon Chankler actually built this aggressive rhythm track first, blending cold modern drum machines with warm live percussion, before Reggie casually threw in the vocal idea about a whip. Truth be told, the record label originally wanted to release a slow pop ballad instead. Someone luckily talked them out of it at the very last minute. Let It Whip shot straight up the charts, spending 5 weeks at number 1 on the R&B list and cracking the top 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. They even took home a Grammy in 1982, standing proudly on the same level as the legendary Earth, Wind and Fire. But here is the bittersweet reality of the music business. Despite releasing 14 albums and scoring over 20 hits on the rhythm and blues charts, the mainstream public slowly forgot their name. To the rest of the world outside of deep funk circles, they became a classic 1982 one-hit wonder. It is a slightly heartbreaking fate for such a dedicated group of musicians, yet they gave us a groove so undeniable that it still fills up wedding dance floors over 4 decades later. A brilliant flash of Cleveland soul that simply refuses to fade away. Number 3, I Know What Boys Like by the Waitresses.
I know what boys like, I know what guys want.
Have you ever started a music career just by raising your hand in a local bar? Back in the late 70s, songwriter Chris Butler was completely frustrated watching girls at local pubs leave with wealthy lawyers, while he only had a tiny beer budget. He wrote a sarcastic track about a woman teasing men, but he had a huge problem. He did not even have a band. So he literally stood on a chair at a tavern in Ohio and shouted out to the crowd asking who wanted to sing it. Patty Donahue had a few drinks in her system and playfully raised her hand. She never actually planned to be a professional singer.
You're so much different, I might get you.
They recorded the tune on a borrowed 8-track machine in a living room. Butler was actually quite embarrassed by the silly track at first. Yet when the album dropped in 1982, that completely apathetic, overly confident vocal delivery became an alternative feminist anthem. It climbed to number 62 in America and became a massive top 20 hit in Australia.
Sorry I teased you, I won't let you.
But the spotlight can be incredibly heavy for someone who never asked for it. The band fell apart just a couple of years later, and Patty quietly walked away from the stage forever. Tragically, she passed away from lung cancer in 1996 at only 40 years old, right before they could reunite for a charity show. I Know What Boys Like remains a brilliant 1982 one-hit wonder. It proves that sometimes the most unforgettable attitudes in rock history are not carefully planned by record executives, but are born from a random joke over a couple of beers.
I know what boys like.
Number 2, Key Largo by Bertie Higgins.
Trying so hard to stay warm.
Picture a cold winter night, wrapping yourself in a heavy blanket and watching old black and white movies on a small television. Bertie Higgins was doing exactly that, but he was doing it with a shattered heart. He had spent years watching old Humphrey Bogart films with the love of his life, a girl named Beverly, but she eventually walked away, leaving him completely devastated. After 2 painful years of silence, he sat down to reach out to her the only way he knew how, through a melody.
You were my leading lady.
He filled the lyrics with memories of their time together in Florida, mixing his real heartbreak with their shared love for classic cinema. In the studio, his producer suggested adding the famous line, "Here is looking at you, kid." Now, true movie fans know that line is actually from Casablanca, not Key Largo, but the emotional weight was so heavy that they kept it anyway. When the track hit the radio in early 1982, it touched millions of lonely souls, climbing to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became his only top 40 hit.
Just like Bogey in the car.
But the real magic of this song did not happen on the charts. It happened in real life. Beverly actually heard the song on the radio. She realized how deeply he still loved her, and she came back to him. They got married, raised 2 boys, and stayed together for over 30 years. Key Largo is so much more than a 1982 one-hit wonder. It is a beautiful tearjerker, proving that sometimes the perfect song can actually rewrite a broken ending, giving a real couple the Hollywood romance they always dreamed of.
Honey, can't you remember?
Number 1, I Have Never Been to Me by Charlene.
And a regimented wife.
Imagine packing away your biggest lifelong dream into a dusty cardboard box. Back in 1977, Charlene released this deeply personal ballad about a woman who had seen the whole world but missed out on real love. It went completely unnoticed, Motown dropped her contract, and she quietly moved across the ocean to a small town in England, accepting a simple life working behind the counter of a local candy shop.
Ooh, I've been to Georgia and California.
She truly believed her singing days were gone forever. But 5 years later, a random radio DJ in Tampa, Florida, dusted off her old record and put it on the air. He specifically played the original version that included a raw, spoken word monologue, a section that executives previously thought was too controversial.
Made love in the sun, but I ran.
The response was instantaneous. The phone lines lit up, and the president of Motown had to make an international call to track down his former artist at the sweet shop. Within weeks, she traded her candy apron for a seat on a Concorde jet, as the track skyrocketed to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1982. It is the ultimate grand finale for our list. A beautiful, tear-jerking reminder that sometimes the universe says no, just so it can say yes when the time is absolutely right. Charlene gave us a heartfelt masterpiece about finding peace with our own choices, and her story proves that it is never too late for a forgotten dream to finally come true.
I can see so much of me.
From dropping quarters into glowing arcade machines, to surviving a nationwide phone harassment disaster, and watching a candy shop worker suddenly conquer the world. These 1982 one-hit wonders were never just fleeting trends. They are the dusty time capsules of our youth, reminding us that the most unforgettable moments often come from the most unexpected accidents. If you enjoyed this journey back to a simpler time, keep this time machine running by hitting subscribe. And tell me, which forgotten cassette tape did you play until the ribbon finally snapped?
I've been to paradise, but